Hi. Okay, today is November 17th, and we're just going to quickly run through the bug list that's been submitted. A matter of fact, it's the majority of it's going to be cosmetic issues, but let's step through. Okay, so the very first one, we want the clone survey. Can we have cloned instead of cloned? Yes, you can. That's going to be straightforward. Can we remove the exclamation mark from the sentence, please? Okay, so I'm believing that after survey there's an exclamation mark. Okay, we can change it for you. Number two, deleting, hiding, archiving surveys. Can we archive survey? No. It's not so much that it's not possible. That can be done. Can it be done between now and next Tuesday? No. Archiving of surveys is going to be something, I guess, that should be relatively. It depends at what stage. So if the survey has never been published, then I guess we could potentially do that. Not between now and Tuesday, but that's doable. But if it's been a survey that has been published, and that means that it has mappings to response fields in the database for all the practices, and then that needs to be kind of archived as the request has been highlighted, meaning you're not deleting the data, you just kind of want to put it to the side. That'll be its own kind of workflow, and I guess we can do that, but again, because that can't be action between now and Tuesday. Removal of the exclamation marks. I guess these we can just change it to full stop, straightforward, quick win. When selecting send surveys, can all mention of CGG be replaced? This will be throughout the tool. There's no problem in terms of changing text. That's not the issue. It's more context. So just changing that to place. Yeah, that's straightforward. We can make that happen. There's a context that then follows on from that, but we'll make that be its own thing. We'll just deal with the requests as we have them now. So that should be with an R. That needs to be changed. Right. So as I mentioned in the email, some of the requests that has come through is based on feature. So this is an empty list. So that's by design, and I'll kind of step through that now. Okay. So I'm going to go into preview mode. Actually, no, I want to actually have this published. So let's publish that. Shouldn't take too long to do that. Okay, so that's done. And the next thing we want to then send a survey. And the issue we're highlighting here is that you've come up to a point where there is no practice data in this list. So you have in the administration section the ability to change the mappings, right? So you're in the test area. Whoever's changed data, they've changed data for their own reason. But say, for example, if I click on no network affiliation here now, that's empty. That's by design. It means if no practices has been added to this primary care network, this PCN, that's going to end up empty. But on my local machine, I've not been messing around with the mappings. So if I select this, that's empty. If I select this, it has data. So it's purely by design. If you do not have for a PCN data as a practice, you'll end up with an empty list. And so there's no kind of miraculous discovery of practices. It's down to the administrator. If the administrator how they've gone ahead and set up the CCG primary care mappings or place, and I believe you want that to be called place as well. So place practice. That's what you're going to end up with, an empty list. So it's just a feature, or how it's been administered. Could we possibly have the add remove button either centralized? So that'd be a cosmetic thing, relatively straightforward, I guess. Can we tackle that between now? Why not? We can look to do that. When viewing unpublished eConsult survey, I couldn't type the contact details in. Okay, so again, this is a feature, right? So the unpublished surveys. So right now this is unpublished. You're not supposed to be editing at this stage. Not here. This is purely just for previewing of the template, which is why you can't edit these values. It's just giving you a visual feedback to understand what you set up for the actual data itself, right? That's it, just a preview. So again, it's a feature, not a bug. And then we have a scenario here. It says, when I preview the unpublished eConsult survey, the contact detail is blank. All right. Okay. So that's it. I can only say that's interesting because, a matter of fact, let me test that, because if that's a real thing, that has to be fixed. So contact details, and that's what we're expecting. So if you say you were previewing it. Okay. So for me, that's the contact details, and those are the placeholders, the text fields. And again, this is in preview mode. So this is not for editing. This is not bound against any practice. It's just giving you the ability to kind of visualize your feedback. So if somebody messed around with the eConsult settings in test, then that's what you're going to have. But based on the data that's in my database, that's not been messed around with, there it is, the placeholders. And again, it's preview mode, right? So I'm just going to quickly go back here. All right. What's the next one? Let's just close this down. Okay. What is there anything else there? The contact details section is blank, and the practice names and the drop down is also blank. Okay. So let's quickly go back here. There's my contact details. So I'll need to preview what, or get a better idea as to what you're doing, but the data is there. It just could be something that's localized to your situation. Okay, drop down blank. Do the user automatically pull it in when they are completing the surveys? When you view this out of preview screen, the practice drop down includes a list of practices. I haven't been able to preview the rest of the surveys as the fields is mandatory to complete. Okay, so that sounds like you might be previewing an older version of the source code. Because, I mean, clearly on my end, I have no issues at all. So I'll need to check what's actually going on for your situation. But as you can tell, I'm previewing here. And I don't have any of those problems. I do know that in older versions, like you might have been previewing, and if you had set something to required, then the preview mode would stop and say, hey, please fill out this field. But this is I've just gone through the entire survey and I don't have that issue. So the code base is correct. Let's just see, make sure I've covered off. Haven't been able to preview. Okay, right, we read through that already. Okay, I clicked on edit and the contact details section, and the tick for required and answer has been left unticked. Okay, let's see if we have anything like that. So this is contact details, and again we've not been published yet. So all right. So if I put require here on and then save, let's enter message. Please enter a value and then save. Okay, so there's the button and it is highlighted as required. And so if I go back in and untick, save, that is no longer required. So I don't know what you're doing on your end, but that feature works, and it is a feature. This feature also duplicated with another required button when viewing the question, which also hasn't been selected. Interesting. I'm looking for what you say. Should there be two ways to do this? Why is it mandatory when previewing? Neither have been selected. Okay, so I just demoed this working. So again, I guess we can have a session and look on what's going on. We need to make sure that the right code base is in production, but or in the test environment. But this is the same test code. I've only just gone up to release candidate 6 today. So whatever is in production, and I haven't changed that code. So this logic works perfectly fine as I've just demonstrated. Okay, so next, warning message that is displayed when trying to move to the next page. I think this is definitely an older version that you're looking at, as I've just demonstrated a while ago. I mean, even the idea that you'd have a warning message for a required field and it not display it, that would have been on a bug list from maybe a month ago, and that's already been tackled. But we can test it. So we're saying date, month, year. And again, this is preview mode. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Please enter a value. Okay, so there's validation at the date level, and then we're testing the require an answer to this question functionality. So I'll go ahead and save that. And then I'll go ahead and preview. Now, if I click here, there is no validation kicking in preview mode, right? This, however, appears to be some kind of markup that's being persisted to the database, and it's consistent between the questions. So I'll need to look into that. But there is no validation kicking in, even though we've just put required on, and that's by design. You do not want to force the user in preview mode to do validation. Validation only kicks in on the survey. When the survey is bound to a practice, i.e. a link has been sent to the practice and something's coming back in. So it would tell me that somehow you're looking at a much older version of the code base. Again, this is release candidate 6, and I can go all the way to the end of the survey, and there is nothing like what you're reporting. Again, when you're taking your screenshots, please make sure to take the screenshot for the entire screen. This is a kind of waste of time because I know that this is not valid, right? And I'm showing you in the code base as well. Cannot type in a Q4 box. This is a bug. I assume I would be able to edit even in preview. No, why would you be able to edit or respond to a question in preview? That the only time you should be able to respond to a question is when you're actually doing the survey as a practice. When you go into preview, you're being able to preview the formatting of the survey. Again, how can I say? The functionality for the survey that was built was based on reverse engineering an existing multi-million-pound platform smart survey. And so it's not like I'm making this up in terms of the workflow. The workflow for the entire system, we just took the best practice bits and implemented it. You do not submit values for a survey that is in preview mode. The only time you're allowed to capture data is if you are the practice and you are responding. Because it's a reporting tool, we want to report on whatever data has come back, not preview data, right? So if you type values in and you saved it, it would become part of the report. But you don't have fields in preview mode to capture data. You only have the ability to preview the actual survey layout. the template for the survey. And that is, again, by design, that is a feature, and that's 100% deliberate. So we'll move on. Also, difference between descriptions in the edit survey and preview survey. Screen, see above. Please tell us. Okay, let's try this again. Please tell us your practice number N8 number. Please enter value. Please enter a message. Okay, right. Remember, this this literally is a previewing of a template. If you wanted to put a message here, I guess you can. You will have that ability to do that for comments and other fields. So if I come in here and I go to edit now, and let's just get rid of this because I think I know why that's doing that, but that's something we'll look at off here. So if I put this text field, I have the ability to actually specify this is a test, right? Okay, right? And if I could make this mandatory, but we're not testing that right now. So this is a test. And so I'm going to save that. This is a test. Please enter the text value. Now, this here is not configurable, but this here is. And so if I go to preview, and this is on the practice contacts and show, right? So this is a test. Please enter a message in this text area. Now, if you want this configurable, no, that's not gonna be happening between now and next Tuesday. And one could question as to what we're looking at. What I want to highlight to you is the project's kind of gone on for just a little bit over 12 months, and throughout the project, the main theme has been minimal viable product. If we say, please enter a message here in this text area, that's not a big deal, right? And me saying this is a test here, it could say other, it could say comment, it could say whatever you configure it to. You have that power. But I don't think you're making a big deal over that. It's just a kind of clarification. If you did want us to say, please enter text value here and have please enter a message in the text here, we can synchronize. Let me know which one of them you want to use, and then we'll go ahead and do that. But I don't think you're making a big deal over that. When publishing a survey, can the exclamation mark be removed? I think that was covered off up top. Right. When editing a question in eConsult on Publish, please remove the exclamation mark regard. Yep. Okay. Also, when selected to change a question type during the editing, I couldn't do this. Is this a bug, or does this have to do with the delete? Okay. This is by design, 100%. After you create a question and specified what type it is, that will determine the way how it's shown on the screen. Okay, so whether it's a drop-down list, or if it's a radio button with a yes, no, or if it's multiple text box, or if it's a date or what have you. So you don't get an opportunity to change that after you've created it. If you do need to change it, you need to delete it, and then delete the question and then recreate it. This is by design. So notice it says editing the question is limited if you have published, right? So it should also say, it doesn't have to say it, but this is the design that Smart Survey was doing, and that's what we took on board. So again, Alice, just to kind of iterate, I know you're new to the project, so if I come across as being a bit strong, my apologies. We're not trying to be difficult with you. It's more the idea that Paul has been with the project for about a year, and I'm pretty sure he's aware of the design and the layout for surveys. I mean, we've been looking at it for a year now. So but yes, this is by design 100%. If you create a question, let's look on a scenario. Okay, so here I've only keyed in, well, I think for eConsult we definitely have all the practices, right? And if I come here, if I was to change this from a multiple choice, only one answer as a drop down, I can change it from a drop down to radio, but then that's going to expand the whole screen. I have not even tested trying to do that. The idea here being, once it's been set as a multiple choice, you wouldn't change it from multiple choice to a let's say a multi-line text area, for example. It's like that just wouldn't be a thing. So yeah, let's move on. Should multiple choice answers all be ticked? Okay, this is preview. This is preview. So if you notice on the preview for the template, this is just like showing you that it can be ticked. It's not to say that we've just collected answers from 133 Liverpool Street or something like that. No, this is a template. This is a template section, and so these values aren't being persisted in the database against the logged in user or something like that. It's just a template, right? So I'll carry on. So again, feature, not a bug. When creating a new question and adding to a survey shown below, when creating a new question and adding to a survey shown below, there's nothing wrong with that. This does not update when previewing the survey. Okay, so again, these screenshots, you're either getting them from an older version of the system, or old screenshots. But I'll go ahead and prove that that is the case. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to take the exact values here. So this would be. Would you like training on the, okay, so that's number 2, and we don't have a number 2 here. So this is something that you've done. So I'm going to go to practice, and we're looking to add 2 fields below. Okay, so edit question. All right, let's get back up here on a preview. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this other, and I'm gonna add an other. No, this is gonna be comment. And so my preview, so this here is showing 2 areas for capturing text, and that's for number 3, right? So this better work, Dave. Right. There we go. So again, I don't know where you're getting these screenshots from, but they're wrong, and I'm right. Yay. Okay, so next, that's it, right? So as I mentioned in the earlier communication, there's clearly something wrong with the version of the system that you're using. Or wherever the screenshots came from. It's possible that, I mean, if say for example, if Paul did testing like a month or 2 ago, and then he supplied you the screenshots and said, could you forward this over to David, then it could be possible that you're just using out of date screenshots. But I'm showing you the system as it stands right now, and this is version 1, release candidate number 6. And I know what's in test is release candidate number 5, and it doesn't do the issues that are highlighted in your document. So we're going to leave things there now. The idea here is just to mention this needs to be investigated. This shouldn't be here, right? And I just updated that earlier. So let's just go back in here. And just quickly make sure that has been reflected as a change. Yeah, says that has been reflected as a change. But the idea here is, how did that get there in the first place? So time will need to be spent to investigate that. So I guess if I just do a quick roundup on your document and kind of highlight what what we need to correct. Cosmetic 1, cosmetic 2 with the CCG, cosmetic 3 with the missing R. We explained that if your configuration has been edited in the admin screen, you won't get data back there. And again, let's just, just to be complete and correct. Okay, so I need to publish this. So this is a publish. Yeah, do you want to publish? And then I'm going to come in here. And so the data, as it's been set up in the system, without any editing, I'm saying Liverpool entry, and there's my practices, and I can add all of them there. So I've literally added them. And once I've added them all to the list for the email that needs to go out, then at that point, you'd probably need to refresh the screen or something. So if I hit this button now, technically it's not going to send any emails because I'm offline. Now, here I've just replicated what you've done. Essentially, I've just sent that email, and all of the practices that were in that list, they've been removed, they've been cleared, meaning that you sent the email. So if I look on your screenshot, Liverpool entry, and that's empty. So you would probably have done something like that in that scenario. So now if I go ahead and just refresh the screen, I have just put this into test for administrators. My apologies. Dave, you did all that. This is new. Essentially what we're saying here is we don't want to show any user if they're an admin user, and the role in this instance is null. So I need to put a check in there for that. Okay, so if I go ahead and just set that there, do it again. Okay, it's going to keep on doing that in a loop. So I'm just going to stop that and start it back up. Note to self that I need to make sure that the role is populated. Just restarting the system won't take a second to actually get back to where we were. Okay, so there's this. So we're looking at eConsult, and I was highlighting how you actually got to a blank link list of practices. So I'm gonna go back there. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna let's patch that. Let's patch that quickly. That's easy enough to do. So only these users are gonna be admin. All right, not based on role. Just saying who can actually get the administrator screen loaded. So because we're getting ready for deployment into production, that's why that bit of logic is kind of necessary. So we're just waiting for this to build. And where is it saying that we've introduced? We need to clean the project. Bit of coding while we're doing the quick demo. Got a meeting with you in a minute, so I gotta move this up. So each user, when you come onto the system, you'll choose your role, whether you're an information facilitator or business change coordinator or what have you. So because you can only have one role, it means that you can't have a role of administrator, if that makes sense. So if you've already chosen your role for version 1, yeah, that would be requiring the ability to have multiple roles. And during the development cycle, we kind of clarified that and highlighted that no, you will not have multiple roles. So here you go. So if I add multiple practices to that list and then send them off, then at that point that's empty, right? And if I then refresh and come back in, then that list is now ready again. That is a feature that is by design. So say for example, if you came in here and you only found one practice that you wanted to contact, we've now moved that specific practice from this list and put it in this list, right? So you've then sent that email. you go for tea, you come back after lunch. Did you send that practice the email already? You don't want to think about that if you didn't do a refresh on the screen. Now, how can I put it? It would be logical to want to be able to preview who you've already contacted, right? So you have a mental, you don't want to keep a mental take as to who you've actually sent things off to. You could just go and say, wait, no, I've already sent that, right? So if you need to contact 20 practices in a day, it would be very nice to have an administrative screen that you can go to and see what communication went out. But those kinds of things would be like a version 1.1 change request. And don't feel that, the business doesn't want to support you. The whole idea here is we literally just want to get you to where you want to be. Right now, things are offline in Excel and Word and Office documents and things like that. Whereas now you have a system that allows you to be able to harmonize and synchronize what you're doing with the rest of the team without having to keep a mental note of absolutely everything and troll through lots of Excel documents and things of that nature. And so that's a version 1 that we're looking at. This is the baseline. And so now you want to be able to extend things and make them work differently. That's fantastic, right? But from a project perspective, we're targeting going into production with version 1 with the features that have been built up over the last year and making sure that those are stable. And so against the list, I've highlighted what is cosmetic, and I've highlighted what is just like a feature, and it's just understanding how to work with the tool based on how it's been built, right? So yeah. Anyways, I've got a session with you and the rest of the team, I think in the next half an hour, maybe an hour. So we're going to leave things there for now. But yeah, it'll be if you could send me a hyperlink for the version of the system that you're currently using, and also for all for all of the reported bugs, please take a screenshot of the full screen. That's why we spent time and put a version numbering there, so that whenever we're looking at it, we're not wasting our time. So if I know that this was an older version that you took screenshots from, I wouldn't have given it time of day, because it was like I could just quickly respond to you and say you're using an out-of-date copy of the system. So yeah, and moving forward, if I don't see the version on the screenshots, I'm not going to reply. Not to be rude, but literally, that's the only reason that's there, right? Or at least the version number bit, so that everybody can understand the version that you're testing or you're reporting issues with. All right, we're going to leave things here for now. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching, and please feel free to submit all bugs to Paul Williams and Paul Wright. They are the guys that are going to maintain the system going forward. We've got the source code across them, and we just need them to be able to kind of preview the code over time and get used to it. Because at the end of the day, the system itself seems quite simple, but that's by design. There's a lot of code. There is a absolute lot of code here. A matter of fact, let me just quickly do a preview on that. So I'm going to close all tabs. I think there are roughly about 3,200 documents in here. So I mean, and some of these have like thousands of lines, right? So I've got used to this over time. Like if I went into an organization and they had 3,000 lines of code in anything, or let's see how far this goes. This goes down near to 5,000 lines of code, and that's one file in the system, right? So, and again, this is not showing off. This is just trying to kind of highlight to management that look, the guys that are going to be taking this on will need time to get a kind of familiarity with this. I know when I was working with his in Stafford years ago now, literally, I would be given time. I would have had one of the developers that would have been with the organization longer than me to ask questions, right? Over years, right? Because we'd have multiple systems that we'd be supporting. So developers would have come and gone and different coding styles and things of that nature. So I know the guys, the developers there, they're pretty smart, right? But just advocating for them, they're going to need time to be able to understand what has been put together. And if they're not given that time, and also given support from the business in terms of, just like how I was able to spend time with Louise and Paul and get guidance to say, okay, fine, what's a CCG and what's a PCN? And, they will know some of that already because they already work at his, but gaining familiarity with the business logic. So, how can I put it? When you come to code, we're all developers. So the developers, even though they have a coding language, so this is C#.NET on Blazor platform, but the code that's been coded, it's its own language. So what does is publish mean? It's relevant to surveys, and so that's part of the language, and so it's to give the guys time to be able to get their head around the concepts and the language that has been crafted. Like if I walk away from surveys for 2 months, if I walk away from surveys for 2 months and come back to change it, even though I've authored it, it's a lot of work to get your head back around what you did 6-7 months ago, and that's as the author. So as somebody that's never kind of spent any time with the tools that we've put together here, they kind of need time to take that on board. But I know that it's just kind of like kind of emphasizing that, look, it's a large system. It's grown up over 1.5 years. And anybody who's going to be able to need to be able to extend it, they need to understand the kind of ramifications for doing so. So I know that one of the requests came through to say, hey, we want to disable users. Okay, you can disable users, but now that means then that we need to revisit everywhere that we use users in the system and validate if the user that is valid or not valid, active or not active. And it sounds quite trivial, but I know that the emailer, it's looking to loop through and go to the database and find the practice information, find the contact data, contacts being users. And if that user is not active and it doesn't come back, then it might error out, right? And so I know that because I've built the system. But somebody else will just come put a disable flag on the database and walk away and think they've done it. But no, now they need to go through and hunt for everywhere that they're users and understand the context of the change. How does it impact the code? And the only reason I know that is because I've coded it. If you ask me to do the same thing 3 months from now, it'll probably be problematic because you got to remember what you were doing a year ago and what the changes were and things like that. So again, we're all in the software development space, but this communication is going out launch into production, and we're just trying to give a sense as to what's actually going on. So a lot of these screenshots here is not from the latest version of the system, and if it is, then it means then that something's going on the server which is not correct, because some of these issues that I can't replicate them. So the missing text boxes and things like that, I was just able to demo that's a non-issue, right? So or validation in preview or empty practice list, wasn't able to recreate that on the exact same code base. So this, whatever this is it's got to be wrong. It's got to be wrong. All right, we're going to leave things there now. Thanks for watching. If you've got any further questions, then I guess we'll probably pick it up in one of our sessions. All right, thanks again.